In this demonstration, we'll take a look at the Prisma Access Decryption Ruleset. In order to access this, I'm on Policies, and then remember, the device group that's chosen is very important because this is where this actual decryption policy will exist. In this case, I'm creating this in my remote network device group. That would mean that security processing nodes associated with a remote network would get this particular policy. I have a decryption set of 4 rules right here. The most important takeaway from this conversation is probably that decryption is not an all or nothing policy, okay? Decryption is not all or nothing. So in my rule set, my first rule here, and I can't really see the name, so I'll go up here to the word name, and I'll click on Adjust Columns so that I can see all of the information across. In my first rule here, rule number 1, it says that users net to the internet, to this specific address, I'm not going to decrypt that traffic. So only traffic that is bound from the user's net to the internet zone, bound for this address, would match this rule and then not be decrypted. All other traffic would fall to the next rule. And do the criteria of this rule match the traffic, yes or no? And then it would take the action here. There are many different philosophies that you could follow in the creation of a decryption rule set. In my decryption rule set, what I've chosen to do is have targeted exceptions, 3 of them here, that I don't want to be decrypted. And then my last rule, my cleanup rule, rule number 4 here says that if you didn't match any of these first 3 exception examples, then I want to decrypt everything else. In my exception rules, I have made exceptions for certain users' traffic not to be decrypted, using user ID to do the matching. Here, I have a simple example and I've just used username, but you could also use LDAP or Active Directory group membership with a properly configured user ID environment. And then also by URL category, a very common way to implement controls over this. I also have made a specific exception of things that I don't want to be decrypted. And then everything else as it hits this rule here at the bottom would in fact be decrypted. I'm going to open up my decrypt all other rule now. It's got a name. I can specify source zone, source address, and source user for my pattern matching. I can specify destination zone and destination address. I can specify service, okay? Remember, service is not application. Service is generally matching on the destination port of where the traffic is headed to, and a very common way to control these things, URL category. On my Options tab, I can specify my action, specify the type of decryption rule this is, because it might be SSL forward proxy, SSH proxy, or SSL inbound inspection. That would be if I controlled the certificate, is where I would use the SSL inbound inspection. In my decryption profile, I can specify things about how certificate checking has occurred, whether or not I'm going to allow this through, and other more specific granular items. In this list, it's important to remember the rules are first fit scanning. The first one that you come to, where you've met all the criteria, it will take the action that you have specified here in the action column, and decryption is not an all or nothing proposition. You have pretty granular controls over what it is you want to attempt to decrypt and what it is you want to go through maintaining your user's privacy.